Carolina Varsity's 2013 look at the 3A NCHSAA playoffs. I'm Dale Ross.
Anthony Perkins.
Jeff Miller.
And tonight, this first game we're going to take a look at is number 6 Burns, 11-1. Went over to play the South Point Red Raiders, 12-0. Last week, and South Point's the number 3 seed. Last week, Burns defeated North Gaston 35-18, kind of ending that pretty good season for North Gaston. And South Point had, I think, a very big win over West Rowan, 28-7. Anthony, what do you think?
Well, you're right. Burns and North Gaston in that game, the score was somewhat closer to what I thought it would turn out to be. Of course, I did not see that game, but I think that I expected those results, but I thought it would be a little bit wider margin. The South Point West Rowan game, I also thought that game would be a little bit wider margin, but South Point had the week off before that. They had their bye week, and they came out and they showed their rustiness of not competing in nearly 2 weeks.
Right.
And it took them a while. It took them a whole half to catch up, really. They did not put anything together until the last drive of the first half. It started with about 4 minutes left to play in the half. They took the ball down the field, scored with about 45 seconds left to play in the first half. Second half, though, they came out, and I talked to Coach Lineberger after the game. He said they made some adjustments at halftime. And they came out clicking in the second half. They took the first 2 possessions they had were 77-yard drives, both of them for touchdowns, and then they pretty much assumed control of the game. They got their third possession. They looked like they were on their way to score again. They fumbled near midfield, and that's whenever it's almost into the quarter. The game sort of flip-flopped as far as field position. West Rowan took the ball down inside the 5. South Point defense, which, by the way, most folks have said that was South Point's weakness this year. But the cream rose to the top on Friday night. They played some awesome defense. Coach Lineberger said after the game, our defense played the lights out all night long. He was right, they did. And they kept West Rowan out of the end zone. West Rowan hurt themselves, though, with a 10-yard holding penalty on second or third down, I forget which. But they still yet were not able to score. South Point was pinned inside the 5-yard line whenever they changed possessions. They were not able to make a first down, had to punch the ball away. West Rowan got the ball again inside the 35-yard line, I think it was, and then on the very first play, with a long pass down the middle, they got down to the 2-yard line. South Point again, 4 downs later, turned them away. And then essentially all they had to do was run the clock out, but Tyler Bray scored his 3rd touchdown for the night on a 72-yard run, I think it was, to put the game way out of reach. But South Point looked like, in the second half, they looked like a team that they've been built up to be all year long, but they did not let that win the first half. Burns, like I said, I did not see that game. I've not got to see Burns play all year long. But this is going to be a real interesting matchup Friday night, I think. It's too bad that it's taking place in the second round.
Right.
Burns, I think Burns will give. Burns they pose some problems for South Point because they have a good passing attack, which seems and which most people say, well, that gives South Point problems. But I got some numbers here I'll share with you in just a minute too. The big threat for Burns' passing attack goes, they've got 2 receivers over 6 feet tall, and so that's going to be the South Point defense will have their work cut out for them Friday night. If the South Point offense does what it usually does, which is what Coach Lineberger says, we run for a living. If they can do what they do Friday night, I think that they can come away with the win. It's going to be a hard-fought win no matter which team wins the ball game. Again, I think it's unfortunate that it's taking place so early in the playoffs. I think this should be maybe a 3rd or a 4th round game.
Jeff, you got any thoughts?
Yes, I seen both of them play. Saw South Point, of course, play for us. Then I saw Burns and Crest play due to Force U being in a rain delay. And I think South Point is highly favored in this game, and because South Point they master that triple option like it's nobody's business, and their defense just swarms to the ball. And when I saw Burns play Crest, they didn't look as fast as I thought they would look, but then again they might have just had a bad game, and because Crest shut their offense down the second half, and Burns for the first half didn't have any answers for Crest's running attack, but they did in the second half. But Crest does not run the same offense that South Point runs, even though they're very run heavy. And I really think South Point should come away with this one by 2 scores based on what I've seen, of both teams. And I see Burns giving South Point, some fits throughout the game, but in the end, I think South Point's going to wear that defense out, and they're going to pull away. And one thing that we have to note is South Point swarms to the ball. I mean, you ain't going to get tackled by just one person, but by 2 or 3. And everybody talks about South Point's offense, but I think one thing that's overlooked is their defense.
Okay.
They do have 2 top opponents too, one in Crest and also Ashbrook. Hunter Huss beat Ashbrook, and Crest beat Burns, and South Point, of course, beat both of them. They beat Crest by, I think it was 17 points, and they beat Ashbrook going away. I don't think that's a good barometer though, because after it just sort of snowballed on Ashbrook after it got away from them. But I would think that South Point would win this game, but of course it's the playoffs. You never know what's going to happen. But if I was going to guess who would win the ball game, I had to give the slight edge to the Red Raiders.
Yeah, I think my thoughts is Burns is typically a big, fast team, good size and good speed. They seem to be, from what I've seen of them, they like to be aggressive on defense. And I think playing a triple option, playing any kind of option offense, you got to be disciplined. Play your assignments and not overrun things. And I think that's going to be the big task for Burns is on defense, to not overrun any of the plays and keep their assignments. Personally, I think while we got an 11-1 and 12-0 team going against each other, I really believe that we got a team in South Point that should be a number 1 seed or could be a number 1 seed, and so this is going to be I think a big order for Burns to be able to take this game. I do believe it'll be a good ball game, but I think it's going to be a close a close ball game in favor of South Point. So.
Of course, you talked about South Point getting the toughest draw. I think South Point's no stranger, to getting tough draws. I mean, they typically, when they're typically dealt those kind of cards, they usually rise to the occasion. I mean, the only exception I can think of is, the Weddington game a couple seasons back, but for the most part, when you deal South Point that kind of hand, they're like, all right. And really, I think South Point or Concord should have been the number 1 team, not Freedom. We'll talk about them shortly.
Okay, and I don't know, was there anything more you wanted to say?
I was just going to say, excluding return yardage, kickoff returns, punt returns, but just, offensive snaps, passing and rushing the ball. South Point's offense is averaging right at 375 yards a game, while their defense is only giving up 258 yards. That's combined passing and rushing.
Right.
And everybody's talked about how South Point's defense is sort of lacking, but it's not really that bad. They're passing, they're giving up averaging 153 yards, giving up 153 yards to the defense, to their opposition. And on the flip side of that, you know, you got, not only do you have to talk about South Point's defense, but you also have to talk about the defenses that they're going up against. And even though South Point, and everybody says, well, they can't do anything because all they do is run the ball. And you got to have a passing game in you know, to make it in the playoffs. But here's a statistic for you: 20-plus yard plays over the year. South Point has got they have 67 20-plus yard plays compared to the opposition's only 36.
Right.
And they have 20 plus 50-yard plays compared to the opposition's only having 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know that's a strange comparison, but still, yet I mean, if you're going to compare defenses, you got to compare all of them.
Right.
So you know, it sort of comes out in the wash.
Yeah, big plays.
Run versus pass.
In my opinion, big plays doesn't matter where they come from, pass or,
Right.
or the run game, as long as you can get them.
Right.
I watched in the 3A state championship last year, you know, Northern Guilford and Charlotte Catholic play, and that was nothing but run. The entire
To rock around, that's right, on time is tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky to rock around, that's right, on time is tricky. Tricky. I met this little girlie, her hair was kinda curly. Went to her house and bust her out, I had to leave